All right, second guy on the list. Controversial guy right here.
Woo.
Cooper
I'm
DeJean. But look at this
like
RAS score,
I'm about
man.
to sound like January 6th over here.
Look at this RAS score. 9.85. He didn't do stuff at the combine because he was hurt. But then once he got cleared on like April 1st or 2nd, he did stuff at his pro day, I think was April 8th. And look at all that green, man. Height, 6 foot, weight 203, bench 16 reps, vertical 38.5, broad jump, 40-yard dash 4.46, 20-yard split, 2.5, 10-yard split 1.5. Didn't do any of the agility stuff, which honestly I understand why. Coming off of that injury, you ain't trying to start and stop too much. I understand going straight line and you can kind of decelerate and whatnot, but starting and stopping, you ain't trying to do too much of that. So I understand why he didn't do the agility stuff. But 9.85 out of 10, that's something pretty goddamn athletic, man. Ain't no doubt about that. That's something that's pretty goddamn athletic. But as far as his reps and whatnot, let me throw it up there real quick. Gotta click it. But I couldn't. The thing is, when I went to PFF, and I'll let you go first because I gotta pull it up because I'm hoping it was a typo. It only would give me 1 year of his stuff from college. So just go ahead and tell me
Oh,
what you
really?
saw for him, on tape, and I'll pull back with this PFF stuff as far as his
Uh,
reps and whatnot.
so I really love Cooper DeJean. Just watching him last year, you can make an argument that he was Iowa's second best offensive player while playing defense because when he was catching interceptions, he was taking them back to the house.
Mm-hmm.
And also he has that return ability. And there's a lot of talk about moving him to safety, and that's not because he's not athletic enough to play cornerback. That's because he's so much of a playmaker that you just got to move him around. And that's what Iowa did. Iowa was like, we're not going to waste him because teams aren't throwing his way. So we're going to move him around and kind of use him as a chess piece, similar to the way that the Ravens use Hamilton.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, he wasn't used as much as a safety. He lined up outside primarily, but you would see him just moved around the formation sometimes. Sometimes you see him at safety. Sometimes you see him down at the slot. He was primarily an outside cornerback, and I think that's where he'll be in the NFL. Now, when it comes to just this dude's just athletic skills, like you see it right there with the RAS score. But mentally, like the feel that he has for the game, you see that all over his tape. Just with the way he anticipates, the way he breaks off of his man in zone coverage, and he's able to jump routes because he can see. He has good route recognition, and he sees things developing in front of him. It was impressive, and somebody in the chat he was a four sport athlete, and he was a baseball, basketball, track. If Go to YouTube once we're done here and just put in his basketball highlights, and you see this dude windmilling it in high school, going crazy, and he was a former quarterback too. He holds the school record for pass completions, passing yards, career passing touchdowns, receptions in the game, receiving yards in the season, touchdowns in a career. So this dude was just doing everything in high school.
Yeah, and so I was right. They only had his stuff for this year. So just for this year alone, he had 705 snaps. That he was only targeted 46 times. He had 2 interceptions and 4 pass breakups. But at this point, nobody in that league, the Big Ten, was throwing it. So he's not going to have a bunch of numbers and whatnot because the year before he was catching stuff and taking it to the crib. Now, what I will say about him is, if he gets his hands on it, he's going to try to house it. You can beat him if he needs to go to a team that's a zone scheme team. Because in zone, he is from 1 to 10 in zone, he's a 15. From 1 to 10 in man, he's probably a 5. Which would, if you measure that together, you still got a 10 cornerback, if that makes sense. He's exceptional in zone. Like you can't get him to bite on like if something goes away, he ain't gonna chase it. He's gonna stay where he's supposed to be, find the deepest or find whatever his read is, and he ain't gonna chase the cheese. And if you try to bait him with some stuff and you overthrow it or underthrow it or whatnot, he's gonna go get it. And if he gets his hand on it, he's gonna try to take it to the house. And if anybody misses a tackle and give him a slither of daylight, he's gonna crib it because he's just that fast. He's a really good tackler, and but he's a little stiff in the hips when he try to play man. But what really sold me on him, because I wasn't a fan, and I rarely go back and do this. I went back and watched him last year versus JSN and Marvin Harrison Jr. That's what tipped me over to kind of favor Cooper Dejean, because I was a hater. I was a hater. And when I went back and watched him, the reps versus JSN and Marvin Harrison Jr. last year, like, okay, this dude can play a little football. But he needs to go to a team that's prime. You don't have to be all zone, but zone needs to be the bases. Their base defense needs to be zone so he can show out.
Yeah,
so he need to have a good front four, and he can do what he needs to do in zone.
And I think when it comes to, because we just talked about Cam Hart, who comes from a press man scheme, and Cooper, they barely even played man over there at Iowa. They just had him in zone. So when we talk about that transition and learning those fundamentals, that's going to be a little bit of a learning curve for him early on. As with the Cam Hart, he already got that in his bag. Right. But I everything you said, I love Cooper Dejean as well, and I think you're getting yourself a playmaker.
Yep. Now the question is, for you and for Chet, at 30.
I think he's worth the 30th pick, but I'm not too sure if his position is worth it for the Ravens.
And that's why I am too. Like if we wasn't down so many old linemen, I would say yes, but us being down so many old linemen, I don't think any cornerback is that guy. Now I say that, but we'll see next week. He might be all eating these words next week.